All right. For some odd reason, I can't share my screen.
Uh-oh. I can share for you.
Let's make you the presenter.
I'll just present. I'll just have all the power.
Phenomenal.
Oh, are we broadcasting this right now?
We totally are. So welcome, everybody. We're starting off today with technical difficulties, in case you hadn't figured that out yet. So excellent. Thanks, Jackie.
Technical
right.
opportunities.
Even better. All right. So welcome to Automation Hour. Jackie, if you want to hit the next slide.
Oh, one too far. Okay.
Phenomenal. So to get us all started, we've got some logistics going. Number one, as your co-host, I am completely devoid of any talent with technology. Makes perfect sense, right? Fortunately, GoToWebinar has muted all the lines for us, so I can't screw that one up. But we invite you to ask any questions, either in the questions widget here or in the Automation Hour Trailblazer community. That way, any questions that don't get answered during the broadcast, we can get to and make sure that those are accessible to everybody. We are recording this for posterity, and we will post it to our YouTube channel after the session is over. As always, we invite you to check out the Salesforce Automation Hour group on the Trailblazer community. Head over to our website, where you can also see all of our upcoming and past presentations. And new, as of a month or so ago, we have a Twitter handle at automationhour.com, so we encourage you to follow us there as well. All right, next slide, Jackie. We have a banner lineup for the rest of 2021. So we invite you to hit our Automation Hour homepage and get signed up for all of these. So today we have the amazing Jackie, and every other week, pretty much for the rest of the year, we've got some other phenomenal presenters, including a couple Salesforce employees and MVPs and MVP Hall of Famers. All right. We want to make sure we say thank you to our sponsors. First, we have Active Campaign, who is definitely helping us out by getting all of our marketing emails out to let you know when we have these amazing events. And also, our other sponsor is Concrete.io, and we want to give both of them a huge shout out. Concrete.io has been with us since the beginning, and we could not bring this to you without their support. All right, so 5 years ago, it was co-hosted by David Litton, Jen Lee, and Rakesh Gupta, and we have recently had a change in the co-hosts. So when Jennifer stepped down to work to Salesforce, I was happy to step up, and so now Rakesh and I are co-hosting the Automation Hour. We're all thrilled that you're here. So with that, Jackie, I think you are up next, and we're going to pass it over to you.
Hello, thank you so much for having me. A special thank you to Rakesh and Michelle and Automation Hour for having me. So my name is Jackie. I'm the VP of Operations at Eustace Consulting. We're a boutique, tiny little Salesforce consulting firm. We're based out of Boston. I happen to be a very exuberant, I think is the word for it. I love memes, I love coffee. I probably have too much caffeine at my veins at any time. And I like to call myself a Salesforce magician. But I wasn't always a Salesforce magician. Oh no, I wasn't. I started out as a kindergarten teacher. Then I was a real estate agent in Manhattan during the 2008-2009 crisis. So that was some interesting times. And then I went kind of like, waitress, improv, personal banker, then back to real estate and family business. That's why I have like the up down circle emojis there. And then 2015, I did the whole SaaS BDR thing. I switched into startups because I figured if everything else kind of got boring because I could figure it out, but startups, there's always something to figure out, right? So I started as a BDR, ended up being a team lead and then a BDR manager, and eventually a business development director. In my last company, I was hired number 10 at Link Squares, and I was brought on to build the business development function, the team, the playbooks. So when I came, we were 350K ARR, and less than 2 years later, when I was leaving, we were at 9 million. And it was all due to outbound, and but driving that was operations process, right? That is just absolutely and everything you need to know about operations, you can learn as a kindergarten teacher, trust me. So then I became a Salesforce consultant, and it's so fun, right? You're seeing all sorts of different contexts and at the speed of light. And just recently, I was bumped up to VP of operations. So now I get to take my love of creating magic and driving awesomeness via process to the next level for my own company. And it's so exciting. Here are some of my swaggy swag certs. Our firm has been a partner since 2009. I have a Ranger badge. I think I have precisely 100 badges, so that might tell you how gamification based I am. I'm also a certified outreach admin and Zoom info. And down here is my LinkedIn and my Twitter. My place in the world is definitely LinkedIn. So if you want to connect with me, there's probably number one. Twitter, if you really want to. Sometimes I tweet. All right. So along with being a new VP of operations, I'm really trying to work on my presentation skills, right? Like, and the big thing now is telling a story. So I am going to attempt to tell you a story with a setting, a hero, a villain, rising action, climax, and then a resolution. And there will be a shadowy enemy. There will be an epic battle. And we're all going to be left at the edges of our seats with, will our hero triumph? And maybe even with a float email core action-based solution. So here we go. Let's set the scene. So this is Colton Groom. They are a full service wealth advisory firm. So what that means is they're doing life insurance plans, retirement plans, wealth management, all sorts of trusts, all that stuff. And you'll notice, yes, they have been around since 1950. They are having their 70th anniversary. So as you can imagine, they weren't always on Salesforce. And in fact, they implemented Salesforce at the beginning of 2020. So it's been it's been an adventure, let's call it that. So our hero, this is Taylor Bell. At this time, she was a senior operations manager at Colton Groom, completely new to Salesforce. They had their original implementation partner. They had some trouble with because their person ended up leaving, and then they got a new consultant, and then they didn't know where they had left off. It's a story. I mean, if you're in consulting or you're in-house, you will probably hear from time to time. It like consulting is just so like the talent, your person, it's like finding love, right? That magical person who can guide you. Now Taylor, she is no shrinking violet, right? She has big assumptions. Big aspirations. She's definitely in a old men's club sort of industry, right? And they have their certifications and their tea times and their country clubs, and for a fresh-faced lady, it can be daunting, but kind of that won't stop Taylor. So she was my first client when I joined Eustace. So for me, she was just so integral in my personal growth as a consultant and ability to listen to a client, kind of translate that into Salesforce solutions, and then be able to execute solutions that not only solves their on paper pains, but also empowered her to be just whole transformation agent for her company. So digital transformation, operational transformation, just everything. And so Taylor had a big idea. This was back in March. So since they're managing all these life and disability insurance plans for their clients have to remember to pay their premiums, or they kind of are not covered anymore. Now, it's not their responsibility to make sure it gets paid, right? It's the client is paying directly to the insurance carrier. but can they level up their customer service and really be that elite wealth management firm by sending out premium due reminders? And in this time, they had actually taken on a whole new book of business. So this would have meant thousands upon thousands of manual emails. Now we have the setting and we have our hero, and an enemy emerges. First, we have incomplete data. As mentioned in the tale as old as time, when implementing Salesforce 68 years into a business's history, you don't have all the data. So they were taking stuff from Orion, but you have to match it up, and some things don't come over completely, and you got fields that aren't filled out. You know the drill. Next, we had thousands and thousands of reminders, and they're all on different schedules. So no, the insurance carriers can't just all get together and come up with, well, we're all going to do annual plans, or we're all going to do quarterly payment plans. So it's annual, quarterly, monthly, biannual, so every other year, or and then of course everyone has a different anniversary date. So just the permutations are enemy, but just shadowy enemy territory. But then hold on to your seats. We also have the fact that clients will be modifying their payment schedules. Yes, that's right. At any time, their clients can go ahead and contact their carrier and say, we no longer want to do annual payments. We would like to do quarterly, or we no longer want to do monthly. We want to do biannual. So that just so much chaos, right? But then the plot thickens. You thought you knew all the character evil, shadowy villains. I'm talking about FSC, that's Financial Services Cloud, data, structure. If you have worked within FSC, then you know what I'm talking about. And if you do know what you're talking about, and you were either a first-time admin or first-time consultant trying to get your hands and head and heart and just everything around how FSC works, it can be lethal challenge. So a little about the enemy here. All right, so here's how the data structure works in Financial Services Cloud. So you've got the insurance policy, right? And then there's a lookup to the insurance carrier. The name of the carrier, so this is like John Hancock, right? The email of the service agent there. And then they have web portal and web instructions and how to actually pay your premium. The insurance policy, it has the policy number, the payment schedule, the date, the anniversary date or the in-force date, end date, because a lot of these are terms. What's the status? Is it in force? There's a premium due date, there's a premium amount. And then these are the ones that I added, the last reminder sent and the next reminder. And you're gonna see this may or may not come into play as we get into our story. And then for who we're insuring and who is actually paying the premium, who the owner is, those are different lookups to other person accounts. And shout out to all of my homies coming up with solutions and architecture with person accounts. It's just that extra little spice that really makes you earn your paycheck. It's fantastic. So over here, we need the full name here, and from the person account, we need the full name in the email because they're the ones getting the email. So the enemy approaches the battlefield, and this is the, if we were in a theater, that kind of like tense music would be playing, like. I hope you enjoy my singing. So this is our enemy approaching. So the scheduled email that we want to send out, these are the fields that need to be included, right? Who are we insuring? Who's the owner? Who the owner's email, so who are we emailing it to? We need the policy number, the premium amount, and the dates due. We need the name of the carrier. So that, again, is the insurance company. So John Hancock, stuff like that. Their email and a link to the portal. Now we're going to draw our weapons. So we have to piece together this information from these objects. And because how FSC is set up, we have to actually go query this. We can't go this with a lookup. It's a lot. It's a goony mess. So from here, we're getting the policy number, we're getting the premium due date and amount. We're getting those from here. And then over here, we've got the name, email, and portal from the insurance carrier. And then over here, we've got who the owner is, who's insured, and who the email is going to. So now you're seeing how our battlefield is starting to shake up. So the enemy's going to draw fire. Haha. So you think you've mapped your data to where it should come from. Well, how are you going to create this scheduled email record? So what we did is we created a schedule trigger flow on a create scheduled email record. And so what we did is it's a nightly batch, and it goes through and says, is today the day? That's what I say to myself every time I see this. So every day at 6 a.m., it's going to run, and it's going to query all of the insurance policies. So the next premium reminder, so this is a formula field that we have, and it's based off of the last one sent. Just for your context, we use a DLRS to roll up the last one to the record, and that's what this is built off of. So is today the day? If it's yes the day, we're going to get the account, right? Because we net this is the person account. Right, so we get here what kind of account it is it. And for these, we are only dealing with person accounts. So we don't want a business or trust account, none of that. No. We only want the person account. And if it is a person account and today is a day, then we're going to go ahead and create this scheduled email record. We returned the blow with the schedule flow. I hope you're laughing. Ooh. I clicked on something that was actually a link. Ooh. Oop. All right, the war rages on, and look at him with his guns a la Kimbo. So we created the scheduled trigger flow. It created the scheduled email record. So we've got that. Now the war rages on. How are you going to get this out to the rightful owners? And we're going to do that with the record trigger flow, a scheduled email send. And that's our darling of the day. So this is the next part of the epic battle. So it's a record trigger flow. So what we're doing is when that scheduled email flow, scheduled email record is created, it's going to kick off this flow. See, this still exists decision. We're going to wait 5 hours just in case the data is wrong or they get some sort of message. The advisors will see who's about to get this, and just for a safety valve, they can delete the scheduled email and this won't go out and chaos will not ensue. So as long as it still exists, that's a yes. We're going to assign the components. I'll get into that on the next screen. And then we're going to do the premium due reminder email. This is the core email action, email core action rather. And at the end, we're going to update the scheduled email record to say sent. And that way the DLRS knows that this will be the last one sent. So the next premium due reminder date will set to either 3 months from now or a year from now based on the schedule. So blow for blow, we punch, they rally, we spike it, they send it right back. All right, so this is the send email core action. And what I love about it, it is so easy and configurable. So right here, you can, it's a fully rich text component, and you can use dynamic fields, of course, to input. But the beauty of this is just, you can go in, edit it. It's super easy. You can reuse it in other flows. In my experience, it's a much nicer end user experience than the email alerts. And for the to collection, you create a collection of emails. So that is the owner's email. They're going to get the reminder. And of course, the subject, you can type in whatever you'd like, and you just say true to rich text formatted body. Just when we thought all was lost. Doing QA. Have you been in the pits of despair of QA? I sure have. This is our first, uh-oh, that didn't work. Oh, and then we got this one with some fields that didn't look like they were populating, and they were looking all funky, and we thought all was lost. But then the monsters of chaos are slayed. Look at this beautiful formatting. We have my name as the policy owner. We have the amount. We have the insurance carrier. We have the policy number. And to top it all off, Taylor, our hero of the day, is now the COO. Thank you.
Oh my gosh, Jackie, you and your storytelling are phenomenal.
Yes. Yes, thank you.
So, well,
All right.
we will open it up to questions if you're good with that. So let me double check the Trailblazer community and see what we've got over there. So one of the questions I have for you while we're waiting to see what else is coming in is about how long did it take you to build this whole thing?
So this battle was a little bit more epic than I even let on. When I originally tried to solve it, tried to solve it using Groove, which is a sales enablement or sales engagement platform. It's phenomenal. But because we're trying to spin up a custom record, we couldn't set up basically emails referencing a custom object, at least not yet. So it was a little bit longer than expected. It probably took about 6 to 8 weeks to get this fully put together. There's a little bit of, especially with FSC, I don't know if anyone who's been through the FSC stuff, just some fields you think that they would bring over the name in like a text field, but all of a sudden you get the record ID. So it's just a lot of QA, test again. Yeah, so definitely 6 to 8 weeks to get it all going.
Perfect. All right. So we've got some stuff coming in. Daniel says, what an adventure. From Marina, we have applause, loved the story. Now,
Yes.
What were some surprises or things you learned on the technical level within the flow itself during the process of building this whole thing?
Well, first of all, I was blown away of how like easy and delightful the email action was. I mean, I had spent years trying to do those email alerts back when I was at my last company for, closed run and all the stuff. And anytime you're trying to update stuff, it was like, oh gosh, is that the action? Is that the alert? Is that the email? Like, ugh. And then you had to update the process builder, right? Or the flow. So I was really like, wait, is that like, I was almost like let down by the lack of adventure, right? And then the other surprising thing was just how intensely complicated data structure can be. And I think it gave me a much deeper appreciation for junction objects and, you know, querying and all that stuff.
Phenomenal. Okay, next question. Are there any PII or privacy concerns you must think about when you're building these emails? That's from Dan.
That's a great question. So nothing that we were, so nothing in these fields is, but you're right. Yeah, stuff that actually has like wealth, money, dollars, that would have. These fields that we were querying were okay though. We were fine. But yeah, that would be a whole new can of worms if I had to do any sort of like social security number or whatnot.
Perfect.
Bank account numbers. That would probably not be good.
All right, so next question. What is the number of emails per day that you can send via Salesforce? And that's from Claude. So I'm actually going to send a link to a Salesforce help article on email limits. But there is 5,000 per day external unique email addresses based on Greenwich Mean Time is the short answer to that. But there's plenty of other other limits to take into account. So read the help article for more, for sure. Okay, Krista pops in with, loved this. Anything you tried that didn't work and you had to pivot?
Yes. So this was actually an add-on from, I had started with, it's called an illustration request. And so for life insurance policies, every year they have to send either a fax or, yeah, it's like literally a fax. They have to like email to fax the carrier to send an updated version of what the policy is worth. And that was rough because just like the, can I go back to it? I'll just go like this. Actually, I'll just pop on this. Because they're lookups and not just one-to-one, they're like junction lookups. Is that a thing? How do you distinguish between a regular lookup and like a junction object lookup? Michelle, do you know?
I think it's just the fact that it can be multiple, many to many.
Yeah, many to many.
End.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, because they're many to many, it's a little bit funky. So I tried to do, what I tried to do is kind of like create a scheduled email for the insurance. Pretend this is like the premium due, I'm sorry, the illustration request. So premium due and illustration requests I used as our record types of scheduled emails. And I tried to be able to keep, how do I say this? Okay, I wanted to spin up an illustration request for every year. So January 1st of every year, I want to spin up an illustration request for all of the policies that it would be attached to. But because the insurance carrier would be linked to so many, I had to do something like, well, the next step and then the next step in time. And it was just too much. There was just too much because things would change. Changes. It just wasn't a reliable system. So once I kind of slayed those dragons, this one was a little bit more straightforward, but it was trickier because this is going to end clients, where the illustration request, it didn't really matter how formatted, or not that I wasn't trying to format it nicely or something, or but it mattered much more that the names came through as text and not an account number. And again, because there was just spotty data, we had to go through a couple iterations of like, oh, can we get this filled in? Can we get this filled in? Yeah, so I'd say like the groove solution didn't work. The next up, gosh, the next up didn't work. And kind of like doing the skip. So basically what I had tried to do is just create like the whole year's worth of records and just use a scheduled trigger to send the emails. But there was just too many variables. It just wasn't reliable. So this one won.
Fantastic. All right, so we're going to jump over from the Trailblazer community. Nathan asks, did you end up having to use an email provider due to email send limitations? I understand if you don't want to name the exact provider in case you did use one.
We do not. They have the Microsoft Lightning Sync, and it's been fine. So it's thousands a year, but really, I would think the max would be like 20 to 50 a day. It's not that much. It's not that many.
Okay, we got that one. We'll do another refresh on that while we're waiting. Okay, Anish asks, can we use custom label or metadata to create a collection of recipients in an email action?
Ooh, I do not know the answer to that.
So I think it depends. You have the ability to do either comma separated or a collection of email addresses in the email action within Flow. So if you were to use a custom label, what I would imagine you do is you assign that to a variable and use that variable to basically set the comma separated. And then it would pull from whatever that custom label or custom metadata was. If it was multiple metadata records, then you'd put them into a collection once you did your get, and then use the collection to send emails like that, I think is how you would go about that. So Anish, if that does not answer your question, let us know. But yes, I think that should be a possibility. All right, Marco asks, is there a substitute for dollars, and what happens if dollars gets deprecated? And dollars, for everybody who doesn't know, is the declarative lookup rollup summary, which is an unmanaged package on GitHub, right?
DLRS. I was like, what happens if the US dollar gets deprecated? I'm like, this is an apocalyptic situation.
Sorry, I've always ever heard it referred to as dollars. I don't
Really?
even read it as DLRS anymore.
That is so funny. Dollars. That would be like a tech company's name if they wanted to like be like, we're dollars but no vowels. I mean, you could do it with an apex trigger, right? I don't know about anything declarative, or I guess rollup helper. Or a whole scheduled flow just to do that, I guess.
Okay, actually, that's great. All right, next up, do you know how we can track the email reply from people while using a flow?
I do not know.
Okay, yep,
The
and that
email
is not
reply?
something, yeah, that's not something I'm terribly familiar with either. So I don't know if Rakesh has any experience with that, or that may be one definitely. Is it Asmita? I'm probably going to butcher that name. I so apologize. I would definitely post out in the Trailblazer community to see if anyone has experience with that and can answer your question.
Because that would have to do with like the actual replies, right? Like the client replying to an email, and that would come in through Lightning Sync.
Could be if you've got Lightning Sync turned on, that's definitely an
Yeah.
option.
Yeah, I think there's just so many variables.
Okay, hello from Murphy. I missed the reason for the 5-hour delay in sending email. What was the reason for that delay?
Ooh. Okay, well, there's something you should know with working with older people. Oh man, that's gonna sound really bad. Who have never used tech to all of a sudden automate stuff that they would do by hand. And you know what? Solutions are different for every situation. Like, we don't need this, right? But for this group of people, they have such a fear that the email will go out and it's wrong, and then they feel like the client doesn't think they care about them, right? It was more just like an emotional massage.
Got it. All right.
And that's kind
Next
of the
from
fun part for me with sorry. That's kind of the fun part with me for consulting. Like you're designing for the actual people in a lot of cases. Like maybe not so much in like a big corporate org, but for an org with like 20 users, like their attitudes, beliefs, fears, like it really does stir into how successful or how much of a failure something ends up being in reality.
Absolutely. All right. Cheryl chimes in with, I like hearing the reality that it took 6 to 8 weeks to work through all the issues. All the videos and webinars make it look so easy. They never mention all the trial and error it took to get there. So as a relative newbie to Flow, it's reassuring to hear that it can take some time to figure it all out. Cheryl, let me tell you from personal experience, this is how it actually works. We might gloss over the fact that we slogged over these things for 2 months, 3 months, weeks. Trust me, you're getting to see the prettified end results. And absolutely, take a breath, take a step back when you need to. Eventually it will click and you will love it. But I've been building flows for probably 7 years now, and I still take a step back and beat my head against a wall. So
Yeah. And
for
I think
all the newbies out there,
yeah. And here I'm just gonna put a plug for building yourself a community. Like Ohana Slack is amazing. There's all sorts of Slacks, like I'm in Wizard of Ops, or yeah, or even if you're on Trailblazer, just like get yourself a community of people that, because there will be times that you've been looking at something for so long over such a period of time that you cannot see like the glaring pimple that is, like, it's so simple, but it like there's definitely something to be said for having that resilience and like just grind. But sometimes you don't need that torment. You just like throw a screenshot to a friend or hop on a Zoom, and they're like bing bang boom, and guess what, you'll be able to repay it to them when they have a time date formula. Don't struggle in silence.
yep, 100%. I can guarantee you. I have pinged someone and said, I can't figure out why my flow doesn't work. And they said, well, did you activate it? And I went, no.
Stop. Yeah.
Why would you ask me that?
My favorite is when I edit a flow and I save it, but I don't activate it. And then I'm like, it didn't fix it, but it did. But like, I'm just going insane because I didn't activate the new version.
Yep, that will get you a lot of times. Okay, next question, because we have tons. This is phenomenal. I love it, everybody.
Oh.
Okay, Ben Bolding is asking, do you have something to clean up or archive records in the scheduled email object?
No, but they want to keep them. They want to keep them as like part of the client record. But you could.
I wonder if that's
You could.
audit purposes, maybe?
I think they could just get suspicious of deleting records in general. Again, a lot of people who have done their job without technology of any sort for like 50 years. So
Absolutely. All right, Christy gave us some help out with the deprecation of dollars. So Apex Rollup is an alternative to the DLRS, and she also snagged us a link. So I am going to put that in chat for everybody in the audience to look up Apex Rollups.
nice.
There you go. That's on GitHub. So Christy, awesome. Thank you for that. All right. I think we're finally getting towards the end of questions. Let me double check and refresh on the Automation Hour community real quick. Marco gives you a giant all capitals thank you, which I totally echo.
Marco, thank you. And by the
Okay.
way, our hero of the story was so excited that we would be doing this today. So if you do happen to run into her in the LinkedIn world or something, you can go ahead and be like, you rocked, girl. Like, and she really, like, a lot of times you'll have a new admin and they're just like, I don't know any, like, she was able to figure out things. And I'm just like, oh my God, you are a powerhouse.
All right. So let's see. Dan chimes in with old people hoard even emails. So I resemble that
Yep.
remark, just for the record.
Just for the record.
Except for the old people part. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
But I think we can all agree with that. All right. So Julietta, I was late to the meeting. Was this recorded? Will you guys share the recording? Yes, we absolutely will. Once we wrap up here, it usually takes about an hour or two for us to get that rendered and posted. So. And that will be on automationhour.com. So I will put that out in chat as well. All right, so again, I think it's Hema said thank you for the webinar. So yeah, thanks for rolling in. I think everybody's really appreciated it. We will do one last call for questions while I do our final refresh on the Automation Hour community. All right, Peter had mentioned in the Trailblazer community why he couldn't find the chat, and I think that's because a lot of it is probably happening over in the GoToWebinar Q&A panel or chat panel. So I will also post the Apex rollups in the Automation Hour Trailblazer community as well to make sure everybody can get to it. All right, one more question. All right, Cheryl, so glad the heroine triumphed. Thanks for a great webinar.
Oh, thank you so much. I'm so excited that it hit the spot.
So yep, doing one last refresh here. I think I saw something pop up on my email, so I just want to make sure we catch everybody. All right, I think we have gotten all of our questions answered. So with that, we will say thank you again to Jackie for coming to present. And of course, thank you to everybody who joined the webinar. We'll have the recording posted for you in a couple hours. And we hope everybody has a great Labor Day weekend if you're in the US. And a great weekend without Labor Day if you're not.
Thanks, everyone.